Howdy, and welcome back to Tim's Brick Adventures. Today we're going to wrap up my historical Western figure series. Today we are going to look at the Native American, primarily chiefs are the figures that I've made. As I think of them, like I said, it's an ongoing process. I also am going to add the mountain men and explorers, so to speak, in with this because make one video, and a lot of times they interacted. Primarily the chiefs that I'm showing today didn't interact with these guys. They were more the northern, and most of my Native American representation will be the Apache, and a couple of different chiefs that were prominent throughout Western history. So let's get into it so we can maybe have a shorter video for a change. Let's lower down. So we're going to start with probably my favorite chief was Geronimo. He was a Chiricahua Apache, and believe it or not, I am so happy and proud of him. If you've ever seen that famous picture of him kneeling, and I have it hanging on the wall in there. That's how much I like Geronimo. But this hairpiece and figure, I mean, it's Luke Luke Skywalker. Who knew Luke Skywalker was a descendant of Geronimo, or vice versa? But yeah, this figure, primo. He is, out of all of them, he is probably my favorite that I've done. The Apache were very important. I loved their history. I used to know a lot more about them, and I'm hoping that getting back into doing these figures and maybe some videos highlighting Western history, I will get back into it. But with the Apache, there was also Cochise. Now, on the face, the heads, I need to clean my glasses, it's hard to see. On the faces, they all kind of tend to have the same face, and that's not intentional, but in the, what is that, the medium nougat color, which I feel is the close representation. There's only a couple of different heads. So, and in fact, I think all three of these I'm going to show you have the same head. But what I really like, this hair piece was with a figure, the DC CMF, known as Apache Chief. He was in the Super Friends cartoon animated show. But these are great. So I purchased quite a few of those. I used the body and actually the whole figure prominently. The Luke Skywalker legs work great for all of these southwestern and southern Indian tribes, especially the desert ones, because they did wear, and that's kind of moccasin-y looking. So, the Jedi, Star Wars Jedi figures figure prominently in my Native American building, as you have seen if you go back and look at a previous video where I talk about the overall way I make them. But this is Cochise. Wow. And then there was another famous Apache chief, Magnus Colorado, and his history I'm not quite as up on anymore, but that is the Lone Ranger hairpiece. And yeah, there again we got more Luke Skywalker legs and the same face. Now what's kind of cool, I believe that's the Star Wars Rebels maybe torso. So I tell you what, you gotta reach out. But every theme, I would almost bet you every theme has torsos and legs that would help out, would work with the Wild West. And the crazier probably the better. Like I said, I use a lot of Harry Potter, even Speed Racer for some of the cowboys. Ninjago. I mean, you name it, I probably are using the torsos. So then we're going to move up north. We got the Sioux and the Cheyenne who fought with Custer, General Custer, the little bighorn. And so this is my Sitting Bull figure. He was one of the leaders of the Indian nation that went on the final warpath that eliminated General Custer, a little bighorn. Nothing special, just typical Indian, Native American, sorry, torso and legs. There is quite a variety of them, so that helps. And then I think the picture I've seen of Sitting Bull, he has the braids and that. So this actually, I think, is pretty close, pretty good representation. There was also there was some other chiefs that I will probably try to put together. Like I said, it's hard with the Native Americans because I just, in that color, there's just only a couple of heads. Now, the Lego's doing a pretty good job. They're making more, so it's getting better. And last but not least, probably the most famous one, Crazy Horse. Actually, I did find, I believe that is a Lone Ranger from the Lone Ranger line. That might be one of the figures from there. And then the body there again, just kind of changing things up. There are quite a few Native American actual torsos and legs. So, you know, you can, with a little switch up and variation. And I gave him the braids too, because accurate or inaccurate, typically the northern tribes, Cheyenne, Sioux, you see they were depicted, and fairly enough, in some of the pictures I've seen, they had braids more so than just having it long like the Apache tended to have hairstyle-wise. And then the last one, the Comanche they had a major ongoing war with down here in Texas. They were the Texas settlers and stuff. The Comanche were the feared tribes that roamed down here in Texas and Oklahoma, I believe. And Quanah Parker was one of the last great chiefs that led them. He actually, I was just reading about him. His father was a chief and his mother was a white woman, Caucasian woman. So he was of mixed race, but he did lead the Comanche and had a very prominent life. So I'm looking forward to doing a lot more studying up on him. And so that concludes, those are the historical Native Americans that I have made so far. There are a lot more. I would like to do more, like the Mohican tribes, the Iroquois, the Pueblo Indians were very prominent. In fact, it would fit in very well with my display. So I just, you know, what I have here are what everybody knows about, you know, the main prominent ones that I came up with when I started these. I mean, I made these figures, oh gosh, 8-9 years ago now. So, you know, it's been a while. Also, Texas prominence. This was David Bowie, or Bowie, depending on how you want to pronounce. And he turned out pretty good. If you look at the history books and stuff, this is a pretty good representation of him. There are the pictures that I found. And Brick Warrior actually has the Bowie knife. So I was very happy with him. And then they both, him and Davy Crockett both fought at the Alamo. And Colonel Crockett, he had a military background. So I went ahead and I gave him a cavalry torso. just because, and partially to differentiate him. And that's actually, I think, from what I've seen the pictures, that's pretty good facial or head for him. And I kind of wanted to differentiate him between Daniel Boone, because Davy Crockett and Daniel Boone are the two frontiersmen that you know, were the most famous of all. And so I kept Daniel Boone more traditional in his wear. And then also Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett were both statesmen, went to Congress and different things. So, but there are a pretty famous picture of Daniel Boone in older life where he had a hairdo like that. So that's the more older, mature Daniel Boone. So when I get busy, when I start making dioramas, well, I can. And then I always thought a lot of him. Now, I'm not sure how famous or well-known he is anymore, but one of the great trailblazers of the American West, California and the Rockies and all up and through there, was a man named Kit Carson. And so this is my Kit Carson figure, and I'm very happy with him. He actually, I think I found a picture with a hat similar to that, and the bandana and the thing. So I'm very happy with the way he turned out. And I guess as far as the cavalry, there probably are others, but because I did Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull and kind of pseudo do a little bighorn display, I did General George Armstrong Custer was high on the list, and I am very pleased with him. This head is not the initial one I had for him, but I found this in a more recent and swapped it out. He did wear the red bandana, and he did wear the buckskin jacket a lot. I also, when he's in military mode, I used the torso from the Commander in the Lone Ranger set because it's a little more official looking. And in fact, this is the hat that came from that particular guy. But I'm very happy with the way he turned out. 7th Cavalry, and I have my 7th Cavalry. Let's see, and then the last African American history figures. There's a bunch of them on my list. Again, heads are a little harder to find, but Bass Reeves was the first African American United States Deputy Marshal, and he might, if I remember, he might even have been a full marshal, but his territory was Oklahoma, the Indian Nations, and he is credited with over 1,200 arrests by himself. I mean, he was a phenomenal man, somebody very much worth checking into history-wise. So I was very pleased to come up with him. He was actually one of the first characters. I had seen something years ago on YouTube about him, and then when the mustache piece that triggered Wyatt Earp came out, I knew I had to make him. So, and then now that's the Lone Ranger torso and legs, and actually the hat too. So not a lot of change out there, but I'm very excited about him. And I think that really completes the historical figures that I have so far. I created my own just kind of mountain men. I'm kind of happy with them. Just generic, kind of based on, there's a couple of different movies, what you see. I ain't gonna lie, a lot of these, the costuming and the torsos and stuff, because there aren't as many pictures of some of these people, you just kind of have to go with, what the movies did and stuff. And because a lot of the movies were tried to be factual on the the clothing and stuff. So I think both of these, well, that head is, or that hairpiece is from one of the dwarves in The Hobbit. And these rifles, they're from Brick Warriors as well, the muskets. And then the tomahawk was a CMF, Mohican CMF figure. I don't remember what series now. But, so, yeah. These guys aren't historic. They are, but they aren't. I mean, historically, there was a lot of mountain men that we owe the trailblazing and the fact that the United States expanded out west like it did to them. But those guys in particular aren't historic. So with that, like I said, I think that completes all the historic figures I've made so far for the Wild West. And I've got my movie ones that I may at some point would do just a movie. And that's an evolving, growing, because there was a lot of Westerns that I really enjoyed. And as new figures and new torsos and heads come out, I'm more able to, because I like to try and keep them as pure as I can, just, pure Lego. Eventually, I might start my own line of figures and do the designing and then have them printed and stuff, but that's going to be down the road. That's a lot of work, and I got to find the right person to help me do all that. So with that, another fun and exciting episode. I'm trying to be good about getting every week, and so I'm a lot of things in the works behind. I've been working this week on getting my Lego room cleaned up. As you can see, you don't see boxes behind me anymore. I made some adjustments, and I made room to actually display some sets and stuff, so I can start building some sets again and getting stuff rebuilt, because I've got all my ships and stuff, the Black Pearl and the Queen Anne, and there's the Lord of the Ring ship, and there's a bunch of them. I got a bunch of ships that I want to get built back up, and then Ninjago stuff I really want to start building. I've got so much backlog in Ninjago. So anyway, I appreciate you all. We're steadily climbing again. We're over at 405 officially today. I tell you what, it's not only you wonderful people in the Lego community, but I've got 4 guys at the gym that I work out at that are older fellas like me, actually older than me, and they'll appreciate the Old West and all that. So they've really been digging this channel, gotten actually subscribed and stuff. So, I'm expanding my fan base, not just you wonderful Lego people. It's a lot of everybody. So, and I appreciate that, and I love that, because this, Lego's about imagination and creativity. So, and we all have it, not just, us doing the building with this stuff. Everybody. So it's fun to get out there, and I just a little side note on the historical stuff. Next year, there is actually a historical event that happens. I missed it this year, but next year I'm going to be able to display. So I've got to create some builds for that, more garnered towards Texas history. And so my dream of having this stuff go to the Lego conventions and community, but also out into the museums and different things like that, and actually become of somewhat a little bit historical significance, is kind of happening. So thank you all for your support and encouragement, because that's what's made me get my butt in gear and get out there and do what I need to do to make all that happen. So I thank you, and y'all come back now, you hear? Talk to y'all later.